I discovered that my wife of 17 years was unfaithful to me. Been married for 17 years, no kids of our own. She went through a divorce before and had two daughters, now 28 and 23, whom I helped raise before we got married. In my view, we've mostly faced just small problems and challenges. We've kept communication open between us. It could be about work problems, personal feelings, or relationship matters. We often sit on the couch and discuss life and philosophy. I thought we had a strong bond and an enjoyable sex life. We both stay fit and live healthily. I work in healthcare, and given the current situation, I've been putting in a lot of overtime for the last 5 months. She is employed at a legal consultancy and has been working from home for the last 5 months. It's created some distance, but we stay close on our days off. Replaced the filter on the Dyson fan in our bedroom last night. I asked my wife if I could borrow her phone to update the app and reset the change filter alert. It was charging by the front door. I saw she had set a pattern on her lock, and I wanted to ask her what it was for. While searching for the app on her phone, a Snapchat notification appeared. My stomach sank as I read the small tag. "I will bring the special toy," it said. My brain got the words, but my mind just froze. She asked what was wrong after I had been sitting and staring at the bedroom fan for a while. My wife has a required quarterly meeting out of town that keeps her 2 states away for 5 days each business quarter. I realized it was about the trip on Monday. I have read Reddit for years without revealing my identity. I've read hundreds of stories that started like this, but I never imagined I would be the one sitting on my bedroom floor, feeling so cold and dumbfounded. I replied, "Just gathering information about the IP and router." The fan uses the app to communicate. I have a Chromebook that she used to log into Facebook yesterday. I took a week's vacation on short notice. My supervisor is understanding, and when I explained what I might have found and needed to handle, she was supportive. I need some time off. I stayed up all night going through her messages. She just left for the office, and I made sure the Google location history was on and that Find My Phone was active. I can't trust anything she does anymore. It's affecting how I see myself. I saw the message notification, but she doesn't know. I signed into the Verizon messaging system using her number and name. There are at least 15,000 messages from February of last year, including memes, flirty pictures, and some explicit ones as well. She hasn't texted him like this for about 3 months now. I kept texting him, but I stopped using the Verizon messaging app. I'm thinking they chose Snapchat because it's private. I don't use social media at all. I have no idea. I just realized you can't log into Snapchat using Facebook. All it needs is an email and a password. She has used this Chromebook for that. She used it just 3 nights ago while lying in bed next to me, rubbing my back as I fell asleep. She sent him a message and flirted while lying next to me. It's a younger guy from work. He has a wife and 3 small kids. He and his wife use Facebook. I have met him 2 times. Shook his hand. I'm feeling completely lost again and have been pacing around my house, which I built for her, for hours. I can barely feel anything. All I can feel right now is pure anger. I opened Snapchat and everything was right there. I called my friend who has been divorced 3 times. His choice of partner is questionable. He suggested a ruthless lawyer. I intend to record and save everything. There are pictures of them together. I'm sure it was her phone or his video. I really wish this was just a bad dream. She has said awful things about me. She shared my insecurities with him. She told him she loves him. They haven't made any long-term plans, so it seems like this is just a physical relationship. It kind of improves things, but it also complicates them a lot. She's really just tossing aside everything we've built for this. She understands that cheating is completely unacceptable to me. On the day she leaves for her meetings, I drive her to the airport and say goodbye for a while. I'm struggling to figure out my next steps. My friend suggests printing out everything to see if I can recover stuff from Snapchat. I can't do that unless I have her phone. I'm going to see the lawyer today. I'm paying a lot just to get in her appointment line, start things off, and hopefully get a plan from her. I want to book a flight and go to the hotel where my wife is staying to see if she's cheating. I can see her hotel booking details and have listed myself as a contact so I can get a room key without her knowing. I plan to log into the messaging apps when I arrive in town and see it unfold live. If I can get the papers ready on time, I'll give them to her. For now, I'll just hand her the printouts. It's a 600-page PDF. His wife accepted my friend request. I'm thinking about sending everything now. I am really angry. I just want to keep my edge. I'm flying there Monday afternoon. I'll log in to see what they've discussed, get a room key to my wife's room, and drop off the package with my wedding ring. I'll sit at the bar and watch my phone light up. I'll call the AP and ask him to meet me in the lobby bar and bring my wife down. Inform him that a similar package has been sent via certified mail to his home address for his wife. I have a Facebook message ready to send as I tell him. It seems small and fragile. I feel like I want to scream, but I can't do anything. This morning, I could only give her a quick peck on the cheek as a goodbye. I just can't bring myself to look her in the eye. I need to make it through the weekend. I'm wondering if my plan, driven by spite and anger, is really worth it. I only want to cause suffering now. I want to cause her emotional pain. I feel completely torn apart and less of a man. I won't accept an apology. This is the one thing that cannot be forgiven. Cheating on someone involves a lot of effort. They can all be halted until the sin is finished. It's finished. Should I confront her tonight? Should I catch her? I probably won't provide any updates. I'm seriously considering quitting social media for good, being with a partner who shares a similar outlook for the future. I found the special toy. Remember, we have a box full of adult toys. It was in her carry-on. It's a remote control vibrator, the ones that you can manage using an app. It seems costly. I have a meeting with a lawyer in 90 minutes. Update 1. I had a meeting with a lawyer. She was kind and compassionate toward me. She said clearly that her role was to represent me in this fight for my future, and my role was to be completely honest and not complicate things for her. I went to Kinko's and printed the document. Spent $534 on color to make the pictures stand out. Thanks to Chris at Kinko's for keeping it cool when the nudes started coming out. He wanted to know what was going on, so I explained. He seemed surprised, but then he shook my hand and apologized. I got home and slept for about 3 hours. My STBXW came home around 7:30 p.m., which is her usual time. Lawyers advised against any dramatic showdown in a hotel bar. It would look really wild and not suitable at all. Apologies to everyone expecting high drama. In the end, she is correct. There are 2 options for divorce: contested or non-contested. She told me I needed to inform my soon-to-be ex-wife that I had hired a lawyer. To move forward, my ex would either have to contest the divorce or we could go through mediation and file from there. She arrived home around 2 hours ago. I asked her if there was anything she wanted to discuss. She only mentioned the election. She asked what was wrong. I felt like crying, but honestly, I was all cried out. I asked her why she had a remote control vibrator in her luggage. Her expression said more than anything I've ever witnessed. She appeared anxious and drained of color. She started breathing quickly, sweating. I asked her why she would have something like that. Who had the code and the app for it? She hesitated, and tears started to fall. As I took out my 3 file folders filled with text exchanges, I asked if the AP's wife would have it. She begged and said she had an explanation. I told her she had 5 minutes to finish it. She definitely couldn't. I shared what my lawyer advised me to say to her. I told her to go. She yelled that it was her house as well. I told her that it might be true, but I would be letting everyone know about her affair and betrayal, that the girls will know too. She can leave now and find a place to stay for a while. She'll be at her work conference for a week. She couldn't find the words. I opened Facebook and showed her the AP's wife. I asked if they wanted me to tell her or if they were going to do it themselves right now. There were tears, moans, and desperate pleas of love. As it became clear, things had gone too far. Then my favorite was, "You can't do this." I decided to go for it and sent the AP's wife a message with the file of their activities attached. I started with an apology and a short explanation. I still haven't received a response from her. I flipped through the piles of paper and began reading random excerpts aloud to my soon-to-be ex-wife. I really want to spend the day together, just the 2 of us. Only you within me. You feel more intense than any other woman I've been with. She is still crying and wants to discuss our relationship. She believes our marriage can survive her mistake. I told her I could never forgive her. Her word means nothing, and she wasted the last 17 years. I'm considering reporting this to HR, and I plan to inform everyone about her choice to end our marriage through infidelity. Thanks to all who replied. I regret not being able to reply to all the messages and comments. I have a therapy appointment on Tuesday. I feel really high and shaky, but also very low. It's hard to deal with these feelings right now. The house is mostly silent, broken only by her crying and moaning. I asked her not to return after her trip. I'm sending friend requests to everyone to get them on my page, just going to send it to all. I will wait until morning to call the girls. I took care of them since they were 11 and 6. They are now 28 and 23 years old. I'm unsure about what to say or how to deal with them. Update 2. Here it is. I've gotten almost 1,000 messages asking for updates or info about my difficult life. My new therapist said I should just go for it. It will help me regain my focus. For everyone who kept insisting that's not how the SN app chat works, yes, you were right. She had WhatsApp running in the background. I don't care. I saw it. I want to thank Dyson for their app and the awesome fan I received from my brother-in-law for Christmas. Here it is. I want to provide more context about our situation to explain why I feel this way. My first post was just a jumble of thoughts and felt as scattered as I was at that time. I attended college in Las Vegas during the mid-90s. I finished my studies in 1999. I had a great time there. I explored relationships, and during that time, I realized I didn't want to marry. It felt like an outdated idea that took away my freedom, and I was sure I didn't want kids either. After graduating with my nursing degree, I quickly did well in cardiovascular intensive care. I returned to Texas in 2001 to work on my master's degree, aiming to become an advanced practice RN and nurse practitioner focused on cardiovascular surgery. I decided to go to medical school and changed my classes to meet the application requirements. I met my soon-to-be ex-wife then. She was a short, chubby redhead with a lot of energy. We met while wearing a coat. The attraction was strong, and dating was intense. We exchanged I love yous in just 3 months. She had 2 kids and had been divorced for about 2 years. I wanted to be child-free. She had just ended a complicated relationship when we met. We were together for around 2 years, and she gradually introduced me to her daughters, aged 11 and 6. One night, she sat me down and had a sincere but straightforward conversation about our relationship and what she needed or expected from me and any partner. She basically said it was time to either get married or move on. I was against marriage, and she understood that. She was saying this to let me consider our relationship and what the future might hold. She made a solid point. We had been living together for 8 months and had each other as emergency contacts. She joked that the only thing missing was having each other on our insurance. We had a straightforward conversation and decided to keep going for a while longer. But I knew the final choice would be mine. 2 weeks later, I received an acceptance letter from a medical school located about 2 hours away. I felt both thrilled and devastated at once. I had just turned 26 and was on the verge of achieving a major life goal. Then I understood I wouldn't see her or the girls again. I let my self-doubt take control. As a medical student, then a resident, and finally in a fellowship, the journey was set to take about 7 years. I couldn't earn enough money to maintain the lifestyle we were used to. I considered the idea of 7 years filled with loans, debt, and hard work, and the possibility of losing her. I said no and went back to pursuing a master's in nursing administration. We tied the knot in July 2003. The ceremony was small, just close family and friends. My parents love the girls, which is understandable, but they've always kept their distance from my STBXW. On Monday, I shared with my parents what was going on. I mentioned that there was a real chance the girls might not be as involved in their lives anymore. They responded by saying they believed my soon-to-be ex-wife was damaged goods from her previous marriage and that she was making me compromise. That really resonated, and in some ways they were right. After I graduated, I had no interest in becoming a manager or director. I enjoy being directly involved in patient care. The hospital I attended provided a certification in ECMO and a credential for perfusionists. I applied to a tough program, and I got accepted. For the last 11 years, I have worked with ECMO and everything connected to it. I've had a great time, but it's also been tough and sad at moments. My soon-to-be ex-wife decided about 5 years ago that working as a nurse on the floor was no longer for her. She wanted a more regular 9-to-5 job that didn't involve dealing with patients or drama. She got in through a friend at a legal consultancy that works on medical legal cases across multiple states. She takes information from patient charts and shows it as needed. Here's the situation. On Saturday morning, 2 days after D-Day, I barely got any sleep. I experienced unsettling thoughts about my future in life. I have thoughts and scenarios about death and violence involving them and myself. I was in the kitchen making breakfast, eggs and toast, when she came in, still half asleep. She wanted me to make her some. I tossed it in the garbage right in front of her. I loaded up my record player and played music from my youth at a loud volume to keep her from talking to me. Very grown up, I get it. I started going through the pain shopping list in order, one by one. I have mixed feelings about it. By the afternoon, I finished with Black Flag and Danzig. I started listening to Torch and breakup songs by Chris Isaak and Ray LaMontagne. She came closer once more. This time, she was nearly offended, questioning the reason behind informing the AP's wife. I looked at her for what seemed like too long, feeling a bit confused. I told her directly that at least she, AP's wife, would have the opportunity to make an informed choice about her future instead of compromising and sacrificing for someone who would betray them so selfishly. I think the AP's wife got my message, and it didn't turn out well for him. She sat on the couch, tears streaming down her face as she sobbed. I told her I was out of tears, or more accurately, I was so numb that I would deal with it later, once I finished what needed to be done. She asked quietly, her earlier confidence faded, what else I had to do. I asked her to make your life miserable and bring you the suffering I feel now. I said that if she cared about me at all, she would unlock her phone and let me see everything. She declined and stated that it was irrelevant, and all I would do is use it against her. I mentioned that a part of me, the completionist, wanted to find out. She said no and went to the guest bedroom. I discovered her HR paperwork for new hires from her company. I called the corporate compliance line and left a detailed message. STBXW and AP talked about client information that included protected health information using an unsecured, non-approved messaging system. I told them that she was his acting supervisor on 2 projects during the time when he sent the inappropriate messages. Finally, I pointed out that they both used their subsidized phones to send pornographic materials, including pictures, sexting, and videos, which was also unacceptable. I have always seen myself as a calm and logical person. This has shattered that part of me. I'm not sure why I'm feeling this anger, and it's making me a bit concerned. Will it stop? I realize that eventually, I need to accept her apology and forgive her for what she did. I'm just not sure if I can do that, and it's concerning me. That evening, I kept informing family and friends about what was happening and what she did. I reached out to a doctor I know and asked for a favor to get a checkup and an STD test. He asked, I replied. I started feeling tired around 8. On Sunday, 3 days after D-Day, I chose to drive to visit the girls. They are around 3 hours away. The youngest is in college for another semester, possibly longer, thanks to 2020. I have been feeling really intense emotions about them since this started. I have built a respectful and friendly relationship with them, but it doesn't feel very fatherly. The oldest one, in particular. We get along, but there's always that feeling of you're not my dad between us. The youngest doesn't show it much, but when they are together, it becomes more obvious. I left early Sunday at 5 a.m. and got to their condo, which their father pays for, just after 8:45. I brought kolaches and good coffee for them. They instantly became concerned about their mother before I spoke up. I explained the situation clearly and mentioned that their mother would likely be moving in the next 3 to 6 months. I can honestly say that doing and saying this in person was the best choice. I shared all the details. She let them down. I explained that I wasn't trying to make them choose sides. They were adults in a unique situation regarding our relationship. If they chose not to engage with me anymore, I would feel a bit disappointed, but also relieved. I told them that our relationship, or the absence of it, shouldn't affect their connection with their grandparents, my parents. They both agreed that they wanted to stay in touch with the grandparents. I left at about 11 and went home. I went to my friend's house and cried a bit. I did my best to help raise them. Their father was mostly absent during their childhood and began a new family 6 hours away. My friend thought I had drunk enough over the last 72 hours and that it was time for me to get some sleep. I stayed at his place that night. I saw that my soon-to-be ex-wife had been calling me a lot after I left the girl's place. I was exhausted and feeling pretty low, so I just didn't care. On Monday, 4 days after D-Day, I got home around 8 and saw her Porsche was still parked there. I briefly considered that she might have taken an Uber or hailed a ride to the airport. No, she hadn't. She was already up and had breakfast ready. She invited me to sit down and eat with her. I did. She wanted to know the taste. I said it was like static. I told her that for the last 5 days, I've really only been able to taste and feel bitterness and anger. She called in sick and skipped her quarterly meeting. She began to express her worries for me and how much she cared. Yesterday around noon, she received a call from her oldest. They were very upset about her behavior. I chuckled. While I was doing it, I noticed it wasn't a funny laugh. It felt intense and surprised me. I told them, "Oh, you care about me so much that you had a 1.5-year affair without me knowing. You care for me deeply, yet you choose to be with another married man. You cared for me so deeply that you wasted almost half of my life because..." She never explained why she did it. I said that to her, and it just made everything worse. I went to the liquor store and grabbed a bottle. The bottle was an 18-year Glenfiddich that my grandfather got for us when we tied the knot. We have a tradition of having a small sip on our anniversary night to remind ourselves that things improve with time and patience. I finished it all in one go. There was roughly a third of the bottle remaining. I apologized for not offering her any, but I felt she didn't deserve it. I entered the bedroom and started taking down all the pictures from the wall that featured us or her. I put them on the kitchen table. She was gone. My attorney's paralegal called to let me know the divorce petition was ready. I needed to sign it before it could be filed, and then my soon-to-be ex-wife would be served within 10 business days. I read it fast, feeling pretty tipsy from some good scotch. E-signed and hit send. I received a message from the AP's wife. She thanked me, though it was clear she didn't want to, for this awful yet valuable insight. She refused to talk to me, but wanted to send me a message instead. She discovered messages and videos featuring other women apart from my STBXW. She told him to leave and planned to see a lawyer soon. They live in California. He's in trouble. I just kept listening to music and having a few more drinks. I went to sleep at about 4 p.m. I heard her come in around 10. She noticed the pile of pictures and items that once held meaning for us. She started crying and begged me to talk to her. I just asked one question: why? She kept insisting she didn't know. I insulted her and pointed out that she made many choices just to send that first message. She was the one who started it. I was pretty careless with my words because I had been drinking. I laughed at her and began to take off my clothes, saying, "You threw this away," while pointing to my body. I know I'll get some backlash for it, but I'm 6 feet 4 inches tall and weigh 200 pounds. Until last week, I was jogging and lifting weights 4 times a week, all for some guy who didn't deserve it. I went to my room and took a shower. When I walked in, she was lying in bed without any clothes on. She lit some candles and asked me to sleep with her. I turned on my camera and asked her to repeat what she said. I appreciate everyone who suggested this, just in case my erection didn't clearly show that I wasn't interested. I went ahead and did it. I wasn't nice. I placed her in awkward situations and went at it hard. I told her I wanted anal, and I wanted her to beg for it. I captured everything. Afterward, I experienced a whirlwind of emotions. I love her. I don't care about her. I hate her, and I feel nothing for her. I want her and feel like I need her, but thinking about us now just brings pain. We went to sleep together. I woke up feeling hungover and struggled to face my reflection in the mirror. Tuesday, D-Day +5. Therapy lasted 2.5 hours. I didn't know she was following me to see what I was up to. I told her I was getting therapy for the emotional trauma I felt after realizing I had wasted most of my life on someone who couldn't even explain why she cheated on me. I was a bit loud and had tears in my eyes. My future therapist witnessed most of the conversation. I said terrible things to her and expressed that I wanted her gone. My session was really intense. He gave me some sedatives and set up a shorter appointment for Thursday. We talked about my anger and feeling betrayed, my loss of confidence, and my worries about what's ahead. I shared that I am really scared of what I don't know. Last week, I felt whole. I had a vision and goals, and I had a partner to help with any issues and obstacles. I feel lost, like a ship adrift without direction. I have no direction, no power, and no way to escape this. He began to explain the reasons I was curious about. It's not just one question. It's a set of questions that is quite intriguing. You can use it to understand the reasons behind any behavior. He suggested that I should calmly ask my STBXW what within herself allowed her to do this to me. There were a few more to follow up with, but this one stood out the most. I shared details about the sex, and he suggested I set clear ground rules for our physical relationship. He suggested that I stop doing it, as it would complicate things a lot, unless I wanted to reconcile. I wept. I fumed. I walked away feeling drained. My soon-to-be ex-wife was still outside waiting for me. I walked by her and ignored her questions and pleas. I received a call from the doctor's office to schedule a test, so I went to that appointment. I gave him the brief version. He suggested stopping drinking and using the sedatives carefully. I went home and started taking my stuff out of the house and packing it into boxes. I have made the decision to move out. I contacted work and asked for an in-person meeting. Right now, I can't focus on work or serious life and death matters. I went to the hospital's administrative building, met with the team, and officially submitted my 6 weeks resignation. I have a very specific job, so 6 weeks is really the least I can do as a courtesy. I explained clearly that my soon-to-be ex-wife's actions created a stressful home environment, and staying in this area would negatively impact my patients, the team, and myself. I've made the choice to relocate in a distant place. I arrived home after getting some groceries. It's been around a week since I've had more than a bite of food, surviving mostly on alcohol. I listened to my therapists and doctor friends and chose to cook some food and quit drinking. She sat alone in the dim living room, sipping wine. She sorted through the pictures, examining each one. She wore makeup and a dress for the date night. She cried often. Her makeup looked terrible. She stood up and reached out to hug me. I pushed her away softly and took out my phone to start recording. She began to cry once more. She said the AP's wife reached out to her and mentioned that he had been with other women besides her. She admitted that she was a fool and that all the negative names I had called her were true. She pleaded with me to think about us. I asked why I should, since she didn't when she betrayed me. I told her I was sorry her lies were exposed, but it seemed like she was only sorry for getting caught, not for what she did to me. I told her it seemed like she was more upset about having to start over than about losing any love for me. I mentioned that she gave up on her love for me or us 2 years ago when she made that choice. I kept adding to it for her. I told her about my call to the corporate compliance line and the exact rules she violated. I stayed calm and didn't show any anger. I felt a bit shaky, but it was as if everything was rushing away from me. I experienced both happiness and sadness simultaneously. When I finished, I felt nothing. I put away the groceries I bought and made a simple sandwich before heading to bed. She was there once more. I took out my phone and explained to her while recording what my therapist had said about sex. In 17 years, I can't remember a time when I said no to her for sex. I told her to go sleep in the guest bedroom. She said no. I agreed to do it. Wednesday D-Day +6. I woke up and saw her curled up next to me. I stepped away and did some light exercises. I've been updating my resume and sending out applications. I could be working in Seattle by the end of the year. I care about my parents and will miss living so close to them, especially since they are getting older. I need to leave this city. I really don't want to think about running into her after this is done. I want to be free and forget the pain of loss and the compromises I've made in my life. The day was dull, with rain coming and going throughout. I met up with a friend and filled him in during an early dinner. We chose to stay sober. My lawyer told me that moving away won't change the financial outcome. I plan to use my PTO until the end of October and spend my share of our liquid savings to move and get settled. I feel hollow, and I'm forcing myself to laugh at his jokes. But it's tough. I often feel a deep emptiness that draws me in strongly. I have never considered ending my life, but lately I've been daydreaming about what it would be like if I wasn't around. I will tell my therapist tomorrow. My soon-to-be ex-wife has been visiting the library, and I've been keeping track through Google while reading relationship books. I have been reading Chump Lady. It's really good. She received a call from her job. I overheard a bit of it, and I know she has a meeting tomorrow, even though she says she's sick. She was in bed again, just like the last few nights. I feel torn. I want to experience something, but all I feel is hate and resentment towards her. The only type of intimacy I crave is sadistic. I have to say that during the rough encounter we had on Monday, I felt a rush, but then there was a drop, and the next day I was upset with myself. I have some doubts about not wanting her back. She made a big mistake, and I'm not sure if I can move past it or let it go. I feel completely lost. I explained the ground rules about sex while recording it on my phone. I explained to her that it didn't mean we were getting back together or that I was secretly signaling for that. I mentioned that this might be hysterical bonding and isn't really healthy. I informed her that I wouldn't be gentle or considerate of her feelings or needs during it. She had tears in her eyes and nodded in agreement. She softly mentioned that she earned it. She rolled over and got on all fours. Thursday D-Day +7. I woke up to her spooning me. I stayed still for a bit and noticed her breathing shift. I sensed her gaze on me. I asked, not looking at her, what her meeting was about. She mentioned it was an HR representative and that it might not end well. I replied with a yes. She wanted to know how we could fix things and be equal again. I remained silent. She suggested an open marriage for me. She wouldn't try to convince anyone, but I could. I laughed and said, "No, I don't trust her." She replied that it was fair. We talked with my back turned to her. It felt simpler that way. Her face makes me angry. I asked what I did in this marriage that made her so unhappy to take this step. She said I was really great. I laughed again. Clearly, that doesn't matter. She called it an adventure, thriving on the thrill. It wasn't until it was too late that she understood the consequences. If she got caught or something went wrong, it would hurt everyone. When I confronted her, she felt a mix of relief and unforgettable pain. I got up and made breakfast. I visited my therapist and shared my work plan, mentioning that I had received responses to my applications. I shared all the details about my soon-to-be ex-wife and the intimacy we had. I shared my thoughts about suicide, and we talked about what that means. He wasn't judging. He just wanted me to avoid confusion and take a moment to understand if I needed to. It was just a 1-hour, 55-minute session, and I felt that strange calm again. It feels like nothing matters at the moment. Everything simply exists. When I arrived home, she was in the living room. She said she got fired for breaking the rules about client information and not following data security protocols. I replied, "That's unfortunate." I worked out and cooked a nice dinner, and she came over. We kept it brief. As we sat in the living room, she mentioned that AP had also been fired. I responded with a simple good. She said she hasn't talked to him in 5 days. I inquired why not. They were both liberated now. She could travel to her soulmate and enjoy all the fun they desired now. She told me I was the only one she wanted. I told you no. You had everything, and it still wasn't enough. I told her that in almost 20 years of work and our relationship, I had been approached and hit on countless times. I succeeded in not falling in love or hooking up with anyone else. I feel really bitter and angry about the compromises I made. She wanted to know what compromises. I informed her. I wanted to go to medical school, but I chose to get married and focus on stability instead. I didn't want kids, but since they were part of her life, I accepted them and made a compromise. I mentioned that I made those sacrifices for our relationship. I clearly misplaced my trust and love in her. I said that if I could go back in time, I would advise my 26-year-old self to skip her. She inquired once more about how to reunite us. I told her I won't compromise for her again, which means we can't have a healthy relationship. I told her I wouldn't love her again and that I would only see her as a way to satisfy my needs. She wouldn't be part of my plans or thoughts. I mentioned that just a week ago, she was the first person on my mind when I woke up and the last one before I fell asleep. It's painful to think about her now. I will just walk away from this. It seems to keep bringing things to my attention all the time. I am grateful for the kind people I could talk to who shared their pain and stories that have helped me. This has generally been a positive experience for me, but I keep going over things and emotions I wish I could just forget. I still don't know what I want. I'm not sure I can ever feel completely certain about anything with her again. I have therapy appointments every 2 weeks for the next month. Update 3. Apologies to everyone. My inner writer is still missing. I'm worried this won't be as scandalous or intense as the start of this chaotic situation. It's been a unique 5 weeks. I found out more. I moved out around 3 days after my last update. My soon-to-be ex-wife keeps texting me and leaving notes on my apartment door and car. I informed my lawyer, who suggested drafting a firm cease and desist letter for her. I'm thinking about it. My therapist has said I've made progress and believes I can handle the anger, despair, and depression I felt at first. I'm on board with that. I had sex with my soon-to-be ex-wife one last time the night before I moved out. I made it clear to her that it meant nothing and wouldn't change my decision about reconciliation. She claims to understand, but with all the ongoing attempts to talk, I'm not so sure. She received the divorce petition notice in the first week of October. The love bombing and hoovering attempts have been almost insane. The first hearing might be in January. If she keeps her promise, it will be fast. If she wants to argue, that's okay. She found a new job roughly a week after getting fired. It shows that connections matter. I'm doing well. I see her flaws both as a person and as a partner. I said I would never forgive her. I just acknowledge it happened and move on with my life. Recently, I experienced 2 unexpected surprises in the span of 3 weeks. My stepdaughters visited me. I told them directly that if their mother put them up, they didn't have to go through with it. My oldest pushed for it. They had a long talk with their mother about this situation, and our relationship was part of that conversation. My oldest stepdaughter has always had a big issue with me. She said sorry for that. She was wrong about me. When I met them, my step-BXW and I had been dating for around 4 months. There was some overlap with the on-off guy, and before we started dating, my step-BXW had been in an on-off relationship with a man my stepdaughters hadn't met. My soon-to-be ex-wife's first husband cheated on her, and she attempted to make things work. They were together for about a year, then she chose to have a revenge affair. He's the on and off type. My stepdaughters believed I was that guy. Their father spent most of their lives criticizing their mother for cheating, but he never mentioned that he had cheated too. My oldest stepdaughter apologized and asked for forgiveness for the problems she created. That weekend was really messed up, once more highlighting the impact of cheating and lack of truthfulness. I want to talk about the accusations regarding the requests my STBXW made about sex while I was getting ready to leave. My soon-to-be ex-wife has always been into BDSM. I wasn't really interested. I didn't give her any aftercare. I took classes and went to workshops on being a dom. I did it to bring her joy. I'm finished trying to make her happy. She no longer had that privilege. She lost my respect too, which is basically the end of a marriage. Surprise 2 was a co-worker for many years. She is in a different department. I've chosen to remain a PRN worker, working as needed or part-time. It's been quite an experience. She learned about my upcoming divorce and all the rumors at the hospital. I now wear my wedding ring on a chain. I told her, after she kept insisting on taking me out for a drink, that I wouldn't be around much longer and had no interest in any kind of relationship. She smiled, squeezed my hand, and said she wasn't looking for anything long-term. She just wanted to have some fun and see what I was like. She's been staying over a few nights each week, and I've really liked it. She helped me pack my carry-on and took me to the airport for my interview in Seattle. I did really well in that interview. I received a call from a travel agency that had many options for me. I like the idea of the travel job and staying at my parents' place between contracts. I'm unsure about what I want to do. It's strangely frightening to suddenly feel this free without having to take care of someone else. My lawyer informed me that there will be no alimony or spousal support. She mentioned that it's a no-fault state, meaning infidelity doesn't impact the divorce process. Infidelity with evidence does impact how assets are divided. She mentioned it could go as high as 70 to 30 in my favor. The house has to be sold. I asked a realtor to do a comparison, and it looks like it will be a significant amount. I'm thinking about a 3-month tour of Europe. It doesn't really make up for 17 years lost, but it's on my mind. I'm feeling good again, and it's been mostly positive. I'm not in a great spot, but it's not the worst it could be. Thanks, everyone. Some of your conversations were incredible, along with therapy. This is my final update. I'm going to return to just observing quietly. I really hope this is the last time I have to share something here.